Yes, welcome in everyone. This is the 14 Yards at Betting podcast. Thanksgiving week is here. Probably one of my favourite weeks of the year, if not the year. I don't know if that's because Dallas play every year on a Thursday, and being a Dallas fan, you get to watch your boys, the boys in prime time. But who knows? But we're going to be looking through all of the three Thanksgiving games as per usual. What is not per usual is a Black Friday game, which we'll also be looking. Well, I'd say looking forward to, but not sure many people outside of Dolphins maybe are. But we'll get to that in due course, and then the usual Sunday night football, Monday night football, and then the Sunday slate as well. Joining me as he usually does, and I suppose in theme with the current infighting, as me and Liam joked last week between Adam and Liam, it's just Adam this week. Adam, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir, and welcome in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to the games tomorrow. I've managed to book Friday off work, so
Good lad.
don't
Good
need
lad.
to worry. Don't need to worry about anything tomorrow. Unfortunately, can't make it down to London with you guys, but I'm sure they will all have a pleasant time out in London with the Hippodrome, I think it was, and casino. So that'll be nice. That'll be a very busy place, I'd imagine. But no, yeah. Obviously, as you say, can't be on with Liam. We're just clash too much, and his chief arrogance is just too much for me to take sometimes.
Yeah, I don't need to book Friday off this year because I'm currently jobless. So I do usually take the Friday off because I do tend to get a bit of Christmas shopping done as well on the old Black
Mm,
Friday. Although these days it's a bit annoying because these days they do whole weeks of Black Friday, and it's just
yeah.
yeah. I remember the good old days when it was literally just on the Friday. Take the Friday off, get up at like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then just meander around some shops. But times have changed. We got to move with the times, but. Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But yeah, you mentioned there obviously last week. Yeah, Liam didn't do very great last week. Obviously, when you're back in or when you were fancying the Chargers and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles, as we said before we came on air, it's generally not going to be not going to bear many fruits. But yeah, I was quite lucky. 4 out of 6 for me, 2 out of 6 for you. So yeah, you two boys have to pull your socks up for this week.
Yeah,
So
mine were both plus money at least, so the big ones won. And if you ever read Touchdown Tips, I did give an 11-1 winner on Sunday Night Football, so do have a few winners, just not on here.
you do. Is your thanks? You doing a Thanksgiving specific centric preview
I
this year?
really should do. That would mean more work tonight though, so probably not. I might just do a few X threads or whatever they're called nowadays, some tweets. And yeah, just chuck a few bits in there and I'll have a nose around and see what I can find.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not very cryptic there to see how far you've come along with the Thanksgiving preview. So I don't even think the document's been opened yet.
It has not.
But alas, we will get through on this one on this show. So let's get to it then. Thursday, Thanksgiving football. I've put all the three games together there. Like I say, every Thanksgiving we have the delight of the Detroit Lions and the Cowboys at home, as well as I think they tend to try and put a divisional game match up at the end or
Hmm.
something slightly juicy. And obviously that comes in the form of the NFC West. But I've got some cool notes for this one. Green Bay are at Detroit, as you like to say. Detroit always are the home team on Thanksgiving. It was 34-20 earlier in the season to Detroit. Did you know, Adam, that this is the most played fixture on Thanksgiving, and this is the 23rd iteration upcoming on just on Thanksgiving. So I thought that was quite cool. But this fixture was last played in 2013, and I've got some Thanksgiving specific head-to-head records. The Lions are actually
Yes.
12-8-1 on Thanksgiving versus the Green Bay Packers. So that I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, in terms of this year's iteration, Detroit Lions -7.5 on the handicap spread. Over under is 47.5. If you want your money lines, it is 2-7 for the Lions, 27-10 for the Packers. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's weird that the Lions aren't the laughers for once. It's normally the kind of joke game to get out of the way, especially obviously over in the States where it's 12:30 and just while you're cooking dinner, you can just have something on in the background. But there might actually be people watching it this year, and it should be
Oh,
interesting. Obviously, the
Lions fans will
Lions,
be.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they obviously are doing very well this year. So it's yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Lions do because whether they were looking ahead on Sunday or whether it was just that they've kind of leveled off a bit and teams have figured out how to do stuff against them. But I think their defense isn't as good as we first thought it was. Obviously, losing CJGJ was a bit of a hit for them a month or so ago, and they've not been great since then with Ravens stuffing them. Chargers put up a lot of points on them, and obviously the Bears put up quite a lot of points for a Bears team last week. But winning teams win, and Goff pulled it out the bag. He's had a pretty terrible month as well, to be fair. So it'll be interesting to see whether they bounce back in prime time. And yeah, generally they've been stuffing. I need to say stop stuffing on. Stop saying stuffing on
Three.
a Thanksgiving pod. They've been killing bad teams, and the Packers are not a great team. Obviously, they have Aaron Jones probably out for the year, definitely out this week now, um, which hurts them at running back. AJ Dillon hasn't been great, and it's not quite cold enough for him to come out and unleash his abilities yet. Tends to be in December where he comes a little bit better. Their passing
Poor
game's
man's
been
Derrick
fine.
Henry.
Yeah, well, this year probably better Derrick Henry, but in general, yeah. And obviously their passing game's stepped up a bit. They're spreading it around a bit more. Dontavian Wicks and Jalen Reed and a few of the others are getting a bit more of the ball now. Christian Watson seems like he's kind of fifth or sixth target. They did lose their tight end this week. He's lacerated a kidney, so he's not playing.
Oh,
So it
is
might
that
be worth.
Musgrave?
Yeah, Musgrave's out for definitely this week. So maybe a look at DeGuara or
Craft.
Craft, yeah, I think it is the other one. So maybe have a look at those on touchdown scorers if you want. My bet for this game was relying on the dominant Lions running game. The Packers have always been bad against the run. They still are. So Jameer Gibbs' longest run, over 13 and a half yards, I thought was a decent one. I'll admit, I've not looked at his stats, so I will do that quickly while you're talking.
Yeah, Tucker Craft. Depending on where you are in the country. Craft if you're south of the Watford Gap, or Craft if you're north of north of the Watford Gap.
Yep.
Yeah, Detroit. I think that game against Chicago. I think whilst it was Goff pulling it out of the bag or whatever, I don't. It's, I have this thing, or it's not necessarily conspiracy, but I don't believe that the Bears are ever really wanting to win. It's kind of like the Arizona Cardinals at the start of the season, where they'll play to make it interesting and to see how if they're any good and test themselves and stuff. But then they're not interested in winning the game. So I think whilst it was half Detroit, I think it's half Chicago. And how many times have we seen Chicago lose late in the fourth quarter, or lose the lead in late in the fourth quarter? So let's say Detroit not really. Not saying that their record isn't befitting of what they've kind of put on the field, because they have done all right and they've won some decent games and put some. I really like Dan Campbell for Coach of the Year this year, and I've got a few bets on it. So I'll take as many. If they're going to spin it to say it's a Detroit, and the coach and that kind of stuff, then sign me up for that. I'm quite happy. But yeah, the bet I've gone for is Jordan Love over 19.5 completions. You mentioned a few things about the defense of the Lions not being great. I also think, like say, the Detroit, the Packers will be behind probably for the majority of the game. So Jordan Love will probably be throwing a lot more. And he's done it in the last five straight games, over 19.5 completions as well. So I was kind of thinking that was going to be maybe a 21, 22 or 23 line. So yeah, give me over 19.5 on the completions. Some other ones that I quite liked, Amon-Ra St. Brown over 7.5 receptions. He's done that 4 out of the last 5 games. And Jameson Williams, who's not necessarily getting a bit of buzz, but I think the team are coming out with some quotes saying that they're liking his work ethic. He's getting down and he's blocking on run plays, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure he's going to get to the heights we all thought he was going to be when they selected him high in the first round a couple of years ago. But his receiving line is over 22.5 yards, and I'm not trying to stereotype him or mold him into like a Deshaun Jackson type, but he is a kind of a deep threat. And I think with Green Bay's defense on the back end with injuries, I think Stokes and the rest, and Jaire Alexander, obviously, I can't remember them being back. I think they're also out for the season or something. So I think with the Lions being at home and there's no weather, as if it was in Lambeau, I think over 22.5 yards can be done in one reception. So I quite liked the over. So those 3. But my favourite, Jordan Love over 19.5 completions.
Yeah, that's the Jameson Williams one. I was looking at his longest reception. That's 14.5. He's had a maximum of 2 receptions per game so far. So maybe he will step up a little if you say they've actually been talking him up a bit. Both teams to score 20 points in this game has boosted to 7-4 on Paddy Power. I've just had my 10 quid on that because that's all they're allowing me. So I thought that was a fairly decent one, given the fact that I think that the Lions defense isn't that great, and they obviously should be able to put up some points. So yeah, that's about it for me on that one.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, then let's move on to the second game. If I can bring that graphic back up, there it is. Washington at the Dallas Cowboys. As I say, the Dallas Cowboys also a staple on Thanksgiving, hosting a home game and giving some random artist a halftime show. Cowboys against Washington Commanders, 8-2 on Thanksgiving. Are the Cowboys? They last played this one in 2020. Yeah, interesting. Well, it's not necessarily interesting, but obviously I'll have me the Cowboys on -12.5 if you fancy a spread, 1-7 on the money line, 5-1 for the Commanders. Over under here is 48.5. Yeah, like I say, yeah, I don't really see Commanders losing to the Giants last week. Not sure how they kind of bounced back from that one. I think they're kind of done, and this is the game that I think where the defensive line for Dallas and Micah Parsons are just going to be all over Sam Howell, and there's just going to be a lot of defensive another defensive masterclass from Dallas. So Dallas are 4-0 at home as well, 7-3 against the spread. So like I say, it's kind of a bit of a weird season for Dallas, where we mentioned it multiple times previously. They're either winning by a lot of and blowing teams out, or getting blown out. So I think it's going to be the former in this one. So I did try and find a few defensive kind of player props or stats, or players to make a sack, but they're not giving anything away on Micah Parsons. So a couple of that I've picked out here. Deron Bland to have an interception at 27-4, which is pretty like what's that? 27-4. That's what 9-1 or something, isn't it? So no, 8-1, 8-1. Yes, around about 8-1.
Yeah,
can't do stupid odds.
So, 7-1ish.
Yeah, 7-1. 7-1. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 7-1. And then Odigizua sack, 31-20. That's just over 6-4. I can do that one. And then Dallas special teams or defense touchdown is 4-1. Because like I say, I think I was trying to look at tackles, assists. I was trying to find all weird ways to try and maybe get Micah Parsons. Also, I tried to look at DeMarcus Lawrence, but he wasn't great odds either for a sack. I think he was around about evens or something. So those are the kind of three I came up with. Don't know your thoughts, but it should be plain sailing for Dallas. Although I do recall. I don't know if it was the 2020 version. I think it's the one before that, 2017, 2016. I think when fixture was played, we got absolutely demolished by the Washington Redskins at the time, and to Tashard Choice fumble just before halftime. But plain sailing for the Cowboys in this one.
Should be, but yeah, the Cowboys' record on Thanksgiving isn't fantastic, so that is a bit of a worry. However, coming off the games they had this week, the Cowboys obviously strolled past the Panthers, whereas the Commanders had a rough time and obviously had to put a lot more effort into even getting close to keeping in that game. 6 turnovers last weekend was farcical, frankly. When you are somehow owner on fantasy football, it was very annoying. He was leading the league in yards coming into last weekend, which obviously shows that they've been trailing or they've been behind quite a lot, and he's having to throw it. But yeah, their offensive line is terrible, and the Cowboys are probably going to rout them. Micah Parsons 2-5 to record a sack is obviously unbackable. And in fairness, the Commies have been able to get pressure up front as well, even after giving away all their edge rushes. They've been racking up the sacks. They had 5 sacks on Tommy DeVito in the first quarter last weekend, but that was the Giants' offensive line. The Cowboys actually have an offensive line, so it's a little bit different. I don't think Curtis Samuel's suspended. I've not seen anything after he got kicked out of the game, but he's one I've been targeting for receptions. If he's 3.5, that's probably a decent bet. Obviously, Jake Ferguson's a player we've both been quite high on this year, and he's one I was looking at. I actually looked at Logan Thomas. He was over 4.5 receptions. He's going to be around there, but against this Cowboys team, I'm a little bit worried with it. The Cowboys, as you said, 4-0 at home. They've won by over 20 points a game, or covered the spread by 20 points a game. It's absurd their run at home, and I think it's something like 16 wins in a row or something like that, going back last season as well. So yeah, it should in theory be a rout. I won't ever take them plus 12.5. Sorry, minus 12.5. But it's more than likely going to get to that one. I did see CD Lamb for a touchdown above evens. I think it was 21-20. So yeah, I thought that would be my bet for this game. If I had to take one, obviously he's been scoring and having 150 yards or whatever it was in most games for the last month. So yeah, the Commies defense is not great. So yeah, I think in theory easy win for the Cowboys, but it's not one I'll back.
No. Okay, and then finishing us off at prime time on Thanksgiving, we've got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Seattle. Where's my graphic gone? There it is. 6.5 is the handicap for San Francisco's favor, 2-7 on the main line. Over under here is 42.5. Bit of a difficult one, this one, in the sense that I can't really see anything other than San Francisco taking care of business, especially with Seattle losing that was a bad loss last week to the Rams, and even more catastrophic. Obviously, that takes them out of the 5 seed, which I think for the NFC is quite important, because that 5 seed is going to be traveling to the NFC South winner. So obviously Dallas sit there at the moment, so I'm quite happy that is the case. But yeah, for San Francisco, obviously Brock Purdy had a perfect passer rating last week, first time since the Montana and Young era. So that's you don't have to know much to know that was a very long time ago. Both teams 4-1 at home this season. San Francisco second in takeaway differential, which could be the difference in this one. What do you like in this one, Adam?
Yeah, I think I heard earlier that Purdy's the only quarterback ever. Like he's recorded the highest passer rating in consecutive games ever, something like that. Obviously, they destroyed the Jags the week before, and then had a fairly easy one this week as well. So yeah, Brandon Ayuk averaging over 20 yards per catch. Annoyingly, his longest reception I think was 25.5. So that was not backable for me, even though again he may well do it. Geno Smith obviously went out the game for the Seahawks last week. Did come back in, but on a short week with an elbow injury. That's not really a great sign for them. And against, we've seen what Chase Young's done to help that defensive line for the 49ers. The Seahawks offensive line is not good, so he could be under a lot of pressure this week. I do like him to get the ball out quickly to Jackson Smith and Jigba, though. 38.5. I like the over on his receiving line. I did see a sleeper notification pop up with DK Metcalf going down to questionable. I've not read anything about it, so I assume he'll play anyway. If he doesn't, then have a look at Jake Bobo for his overs, because he seems to be the guy who fills in for Metcalf. And obviously they've lost Kenneth Walker as well now. So Shaq Charbonnet, but he was pretty ineffective, to be honest. I was a little bit disappointed. I got some good odds on him in play, which didn't turn out well for me in the end. But closing line value, yeah, the 49ers are probably the best team in the league when they're healthy. Again, I still don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl with Purdy at quarterback, but they are an incredibly good team in the regular season. So yeah, if it's less than 7, I would take them, which apparently it is at the moment, or was. Um, Although Pete Carroll does seem to have a little bit of hoodoo over Kyle Shanahan, so that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause. And frankly, the 49ers secondary isn't that good anymore. And Hufanga literally had his knee broken by someone juking him last week. So that was a big loss for them. And whoever gets that, the guy who replaced him, I think they'll probably target him a bit, but I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. So yeah, I think 49ers covering the 7 in theory should be the bet. I can't do it. But my bet for this one was Smith and Jigba over 38.5.
Yeah, I did like DK Metcalf anytime at 13-5. I wasn't aware of the questionable stuff, but yeah, I mean, if they get down to the near the goal line or the red zone, like I say, they can just throw him the ball. Like I say, Kenneth Walker not being there, I know they can run Zach Charbonnet in the red zone and whatnot, but I don't really see, especially with the Geno Smith elbow injury, and if he can't throw the ball that far, then it doesn't matter how bad their secondary is, because it's not going to get that far anyway. So I do like your JSN stuff, but yeah, for me, the San Francisco -6.5 would probably be my bet, where you can get it. It's 5 to, you can get 5 to 6 in places. So we go with that. Quick look over Liam's bets for Thursday. He's gone Lions, Cowboys, and 49ers, 21 plus points at evens. Yeah, I don't mind that whatsoever. What's that, 3 touchdowns? Yeah, I can see them. I can see them doing that. And his favourite touchdown scorer bet for the week is Jake Ferguson as well. So, shows you what you need to know with that one. Let's have a look then at Black Friday football. We probably won't spend too much time on it because we don't really need to. It's the New York Jets travelling, and Tim Boyle as well. He's travelling with the Jets as they go to the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Miami are 9.5 point favourites, 1-5 on the money line, 7-2 for the Jets. Over under here, Adam is 40.5.
Yeah, the change of quarterback is probably going to give the Jets defense a needed boost. Obviously, they've been on the field a hell of a lot with Wilson at quarterback, and last week was it seems like it was the final straw. Hilariously, Zach Wilson's now third choice behind Trevor Siemian, which is the ultimate kind of insult for him but after his performance last week, he was absolutely terrible. I didn't see anything positive from him last week, so it's no real surprise that he's been finally ditched by the Jets. Yeah, obviously Jets defense is rated as one of the best in the league, but when you're on the field for 75%, it's impossible for them. So we'll see if Tim Boyle can do anything better. I doubt it, to be honest. But yeah, I don't really understand why they let Michael Carter go either, because he was getting a little bit of action as a third down back. So I don't know if he did something to piss them off, but he's gone. Yeah, the Dolphins, frankly, I thought they disappointed me a bit last week as well. They maybe rushed back Achan, and he's re-aggravated his knee. That kind of hurt them early on in the game last week. I have been looking for Jeff Wilson receiving yards because he's the pass catching back. He was 7.5 a few weeks back, so if you can find something like that again, then that's one I'll go for. But Mostert 10-11 is the bet that I would go for on this one. Obviously against a tough defense, but he should be able to get them.
Yeah, I'd quite happily go unders and quite happily take Miami with minus 9.5. I could say anything Jeff Wilson wise, because Salvon Ahmed has gone on IR as well. So
Okay.
Jeff Wilson was in a healthy scratch last week, so I assume him and Mostert will get their familiar timeshare like they did last season. Just with regarding the Jets, I don't know necessarily about Michael Carter, but I know that they specifically wanted to give Abanikanda some run as well as some of the youngsters last week. It's just unfortunate that they were going with Zach Wilson. So I think they may be trying to trot out some of the younger or the squad guys to make a few decisions maybe, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I think they know the season's going to be is done now, so it's kind of looking forward to next year. So like say, give me Miami will take this quite comfortably. I know the Jets defense will put up some sort of a fight, but like say when you're on the field for 40 minutes of a game, you're gonna tire, and Tyreek Hill is just gonna always get free for one to take it to the house. So but yeah, I do like Mostert at 10-11, decent bet considering they're nearly 10-point favourites. But yeah, give me the unders, give me Miami, and like everything you said.
I will get on his Izzy Abanikanda at 18-1 anytime then. Thank you. I was unaware that they gave him a bit of play.
Sunday night football. Then let's travel. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Los Angeles Chargers SoFi Stadium. Baltimore are minus 3.5. Over under here is 47.5. Could be quite a fun one. Obviously, Mark Andrews going down for the Ravens. The Chargers doing what the Chargers do. It could be a box of surprises here, but it also could be a box of dud fireworks as well. So, interested to get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I have no thoughts really. It's a really tough one to call. Obviously the Ravens have been fairly dominant and probably the best team in the AFC this year. I think it's hard to look to anyone else in that area. So I do think that they will win, but then again, it'd be just like the Chargers to pull off a win in this one after so many dud games. And in fairness, the Chargers should have won last week. They had a couple of very costly drops and fumbles and just complete mess from them. Well, again, Chargers going to charge us, so won't be too surprised if they get it done here. But the Ravens, in theory, should be able to cover the 3.5. I do like them in the first half because they do tend to allow teams back into it in the fourth quarter. So Ravens minus 2.5 is the first half line. I think that would be my bet for this one. But yeah, it should be an entertaining game, as you say. It's two highly thought of teams, but one of them is functional on defense, the other one isn't. So I think the Ravens should be able to see out the 3.5 points, really.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like I say, but I think Chargers being a wild card, of a team. You're not quite sure what you're going to kind of get. But with Mark Andrews coming down, I do like Zay Flowers, touchdown scorer. I do like the unders in this one. I do think it's a slightly bit high. But again, Lamar Jackson could run for 100 and score 2 rushing touchdowns, or Gus Edwards seems to do it these days. But but similarly, Justin Herbert. As long as the sun's in no one's eyes, obviously it won't be that time of night. US time, obviously a few people might catch a few balls now, but let's say I do like the Baltimore Ravens defense as well. So it kind of points a bit of an under to me. There is a chance that the Baltimore Ravens may blow them out, and then the Chargers just say, "Oh, no, sod this," and do whatever it is that they do. Liam has gone for Ravens. No, actually, Chargers money line, for God's sake. Does he not learn from last week?
I think he's doing the good old hedging his bets, and then if the Chargers win, he wins his bet, and if they don't, then he's happy because it's the Chargers.
Yeah,
I think he's been a bit sneaky.
Yeah, don't like that at all. Okay, let's move on to Monday Night Football, NFC North action. Chicago Bears plus 3.5. They travel to Minnesota. Over under here is 43.5. Don't really know what to do in this game. I always seem to underrate the Chicago Bears defense, who've been playing really well actually the last couple of weeks. I know they lost, but again, it goes back to I don't think they're necessarily interested in winning games, but I do think they've got quite a few decent players on that defense. So I always tend to think, Chicago Bears crap defense. Let's just do the Vikings on the handicap and do overs because they can score points as well. And obviously, I think Justin Fields played all right last week. Obviously, had that fumble to end the game, but that's Aiden Hutchinson, running down his throat. So I'd probably piddle my pants and drop the ball as well. So I can't really blame him for that. But I think it would probably be a similar story. Chicago will be a bit feisty, but I think Josh Dobbs has shown enough in these few weeks there. Ty Chandler's done all right. I think the Vikings will probably win, cover the spread, and I probably fancy the over. But again, that's probably because I underestimate the Minnesota run defense is pretty feisty as well.
Yeah, they're both teams have been a little surprising for obviously the last few weeks, and as you say, maybe the Bears are doing what the Cardinals did and just showing that they can if they want. But then they have nothing to play for this year, so it does make sense that losing games is the end goal for them. Montez Sweat coming in has obviously helped their defense a bit, so that's been a decent trade for them so far, and obviously gave him a lot of money. But yeah, I kind of agree with you around the FL podcast. It's they are the team of ATL for them, and the Vikings are a very fun team to watch. And obviously, Josh Dobbs is someone who's quite easy to root for. He seems a decent guy, and obviously shipped around for X amount of teams. And I think he's scored a rushing touchdown every game he's played for them so far, and helped bring home a big winner for me this weekend. So I'm backing him again this week. I've gone for Dobbs and Fields both to score a touchdown, which I'm hoping will be around 16, 18 to 1. Obviously, once the lines come out on it, it's going to be fairly high. Admittedly, Fields hasn't rushed in for that many this year. He's been tending to throw it deep to DJ Moore a little bit and doing all right there. But yeah, it should be. I don't know. Maybe it could be a quite interesting game, a little bit of a fun game. Um, but as you say, the defenses could be on top, but over 43.5, it's not a high over under, so I'd probably lean to the over on that one. But yeah, I'm going for the big money on Fields and Dobbs both to score.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Certainly, Dobbs and is showing he can do it with his legs, and Justin Fields can do it as well. Yeah, do like that. Might have a look. Keep my eyes peeled on that one. Liam has gone for Vikings minus 2.813 for his bet as well. So that's all the live games. Let's spend a couple of minutes then on handicaps and total points for the Sunday games. If you are watching, they are scrolling along the bottom of your screen there. But Adam, give us your best handicap for week 12.
My favouriteest ever team, Steelers. Steelers -1 at Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe 1.5 now, but yeah, 1.5. Obviously, the Bengals are starting Jake Browning. Bengals defense has not been very good this year. They've been relying on turnovers, and when you have, well, I guess it depends whether the Steelers open up the playbook a little bit with a new OC.
Go past the first page.
Yeah, possibly. Like, obviously, apparently there's no excuse for Kenny Pickett now because Steelers fans think he's amazing and they've blamed everything on Matt Canada. So it'll be interesting to see whether he actually can do anything or whether he's about as average as I personally believe he is. But yeah, whatever they do, I think that Browning will throw multiple picks. He'll get sacked a lot, and I think it's going to be a very tough night for the Bengals. And the Steelers are just going to do what they always do. They might. Don't quote me on this. They might actually outgain someone this year, because they seem to have finally figured out that Najee Harris is garbage as well, and given it to Jalen Warren a little bit more. And yeah, with the new playbook, with Freiermuth back, they've got a lot more fitness and health on their team than they have done for most of the season. So I think, unfortunately, I'm not sure my Bengals are going to win many more games this year, and I think this might be the start of that.
Fair enough. Just before we get to mine, Liam has gone for Jags -1.5. My one is Kansas City -7. The line is 7.5, but most of these bookies now give you alternative lines, and you can pick your line and stuff. So, give me the 7 to cover against Vegas. Vegas, how they've gotten to the record that they're at, I do not know. But I think the Kansas City, we're going to put a whooping on them after their defeat against Philadelphia. So I just don't think they've really got many tools outside of Max Crosby to get anything done. There is one of the linebackers that I quite like, and I think there is actually a corner that's pretty decent for the Raiders, who their names escape me at the moment. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs, it's kind of a get-right game. I know they're away, but Kansas City, I think, are more than 7 points better, despite their offensive struggles. And I know you can just kind of cover Travis Kelce and then kind of trust your luck and that no one else can catch a ball like Valdes-Scantling showcased on Monday Night Football. But Rashee Rice can do a few bits if they can allow him to get involved. He's not the second coming of Tyreek Hill, but Pacheco runs quite hard as well. So I just think they'll have way too much for the Vegas Raiders. So anything else that you liked? There was a few that I thought were a bit weird. I'm not quite sure why some lines are as they are, but any other thoughts for the handicaps?
Not particularly. I think the Saints should win fairly comfortably against the Falcons. Obviously, Dennis
Yeah.
Ridder's back at quarterback. Both teams coming off a bye. That one, no Michael Thomas, which is probably a bonus for the Saints because he's a dick. The Bucks versus the Colts, I was unsure on. I thought the Bucks getting points was a decent one. And Denver Cleveland was one I was staying firmly away from. Obviously, Denver seemed to have figured stuff out now, and the Browns with the rookie QB played out a defensive slugfest last week. So I'd probably lean to the Broncos on that one. But no, and the Giants Pats is confusing as hell, to be honest. Like, really, it should be the Pats covering that, but are you going to take Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones or whatever it is covering 3.5 points? I don't
Yeah.
think so,
No,
but yeah.
No, I'd probably take. I mean, I don't know why, but I'd take Giants plus 3.5 to if it's going to be. I can't see many points. Might be a field goal game, but I think it's one of those kind of weeks where you just maybe kind of not necessarily do a teaser, but you kind of shave a half a point or a point off to kind of get to cover some key lines. Obviously, you've got Philadelphia and Buffalo. There's 3.5. I'd probably shave that down to 3 for Philadelphia. And I mentioned obviously the Kansas City Las Vegas one. I just feel like there's a few there that you can just shave to make it a bit more favourable. And I probably agree with some of the ones that you mentioned there. All right, 12 points. Then we will get out of here. Again, scrolling along at the bottom. Liam has gone for Eagles Bills over 48.5, which is what I have gone for. Adam, you've gone for the Chiefs Raiders game.
Yeah. As we've said about the Chiefs, they seem to be a defense first team this year, and their offense is stuttering to say to say the least. And the Raiders managed to slow down the Dolphins last week, which I was quite surprised about. So I think maybe with the new head coach, I think he was a linebacker, I believe, or he's a linebacker coach. So I think they're obviously got a little bit more defensive on it as a whole and a lot more solid there. I don't think the Raiders are going to put up many points. So yeah, under 43.5, I think on 42.5 you've got on there. I think it was 43.5 when I put it on. If you can get up to, if you can get up to under 44, then that's ideal. But I just think it'll be a quite quiet game, fairly.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce was it was a linebacker for the Giants. Not so many moons ago. But yeah, obviously, just how you'll notice that there again, there are quite a lot of threes. 33.5 for the Giants and the Patriots. 34.5 Denver versus Cleveland. It's been a funky season this year for total points lines, and
It's been terrible, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh again, 34.5. I'll probably go under on that, to be honest. Although that one could be freaky with defensive score, like you said.
Yeah.
Same with Denver and Cleveland. But I, again, fancy that to go under. Really, like I say, I really fancied I know it was 32.5 last week, but Cleveland last week 32.5 against Pittsburgh. Just there was no points being scored. It just is what it is. I just like Philadelphia and Buffalo to score a lot of points. I don't think there'll be much defense in this one. I think it's going to be kind of just a slugfest. And 48.5, I was expecting it to start with a 5, to be quite honest. So, give me 48.5.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get out of here then. We'll just do some touchdown scores. I don't know if you've looked at any, Adam. You've not got any on your sheet here, but I think AJ Brown will bounce back, and I think he'll have a big game. Like I say, the corners for Buffalo have struggled. The secondary, the defense in general has struggled, and I think AJ Brown will have a big game this week after kind of being shut down by the Chiefs.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Obviously, 8 yards is it's a one-off, I think. So, yeah, hopefully you'll bounce back. And as you say, the Bills' defense isn't great. I honestly didn't look at too much. I had a look around for prices, and because we're doing it a day early this week, there is nothing. So, yeah, it was a struggle. But again, Josh Dobbs, he seems to be scoring most weeks. He'll be a decent price. And Kyren Williams is back for the Rams, so probably have a look at him against the Cardinals, I think they are. Scroll through in a minute.
No, Josh Dobbs is Chicago.
No, sorry, Kyren Williams.
Oh, Kyren Williams.
Rams,
Arizona
Rams,
Cardinals. Yeah.
It's NFC West against each other this week, so that'll be interesting. Cortland Sutton scores every game for Broncos, obviously facing a tough team with Cleveland, so probably one I'll give a miss. But yeah, honestly, I didn't look at. I had a quick look around and couldn't find much, so obviously that's why Liam's gone with Jake Ferguson, as you said before.
Yeah, the only other one I'd look at is Rashid Shaheed, if he's a decent price. Like you mentioned about Michael Thomas being on, he's done.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Some bookies might still kind of undervalue
Juwan Johnson, maybe.
Yeah, Juwan. Yeah. So there'd be, but if Derek Carr back on center, he really likes Shaheed. So if you can get a decent price, anything above 2-1-5-2 or something, I wouldn't say no to that. But really, but yeah, no. Outside of that, I think that does it for our Thanksgiving week preview. Adam, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir. And are you having a turkey tomorrow? Are you having anything special?
I'm hoping just a ton of chicken wings, but it's around my mate's house. He moved into his own house recently after quite a while, and it's kind of a housewarming for him. So it's up to him, frankly. I'll see what he does. But yeah, with Friday off, there'll be alcohol involved and hopefully a ton of chicken.
Yeah, indeed. Me and the I'm gonna get I've got a nice turkey get on the go for tomorrow. All the trimmings, got a nice little dessert in as well. So yeah, gonna have a full Thanksgiving feast we're going to have tomorrow, so that's going to be very much looking forward to that. But hope you have a nice time. Hope everyone out there, good luck with all your bets as always. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games. We'll be back at the usual time and place next Thursday at 6:30. Please gamble responsibly, and we'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.